Shocked by an early morning attack of planes dropping bombs, American lives were forever changed by impending war. Thousands lost their lives that December morning in Pearl Harbor.
The attack devastated the American fleet. Led by President Roosevelt, Americans rose to defend their nation.
To some generations, much is given. Of other generations, much is expected. This generation of Americans has a rendezvous with destiny. Since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
America's military leaders quickly responded.
There will no longer be any spot on earth, and certainly not in America, that is safe from attack by air. For our protection, we must have an Air Force second to none. For this, we need a great aviation industry, a great air transport system, and a great body of trained personnel. But we'll need more than planes, and pilots, and mechanics. We'll need scientists and mathematicians, and we'll need the full inventive genius of the American people. With these, we can protect the future, ourselves and our allies, with the weapons of the future.
General Hap Arnold knew that military success depended on air superiority, but the corps of ready pilots was inadequate. Training new recruits would take time the general did not have.
Faced with critical constraints, the military entered into a bold experiment.
They would use women pilots.
2 experienced aviators, Nancy Harkness Love and Jacqueline Cochran, would lead the effort. Betty Gillies was the first woman to receive a telegram asking her to serve. She and other WAFs, Women's Auxiliary Faring Squadron pilots, delivered planes to the Army. Their support freed male pilots for combat duty overseas. Second was Cornelia Fort, another seasoned pilot and instructor. Cornelia personally witnessed the attack. She and a student were in the air over the harbor early on the morning of December 7th. Cornelia escaped harm, but never forgot the devastation she witnessed. She was determined to do her part to defend the nation. So were thousands of other women.
Avenger Field in Sweetwater, Texas. The training base where these women came together as one group. The WASPs, Women Air Force Service Pilots.
Here in this desert field, they were introduced to the military. Basic training was intense.
Although already experienced pilots, WASPs received instruction on the ground and in the air. The same rigorous training given men. Here they learned to fly the military way. Those who completed basic training were awarded silver wings. 25,000 women had stepped forward. Only 1,074 earned their wings.
These women were trained by the military and are distinguished by being America's first women military pilots.
From the beginning, the program was an experiment. WASPs were testing the boundaries. WASPs would have to prove themselves to their male colleagues, the military, and the nation.
They would go on to fly every type of plane owned by the military, including the B-26 and B-29 bombers. Colonel Paul Tibbets found that the best way to convince men the B-29 was safe was for women to fly it. WASPs had safety records equal to male pilots. They logged 60 million miles, ferrying over 12,600 planes. WASP-towed gun retorts were shot at with live ammunition. They instructed hundreds of military pilots. In addition, they flew countless maintenance check flights.
With over 18 months of service, the WASPs flew every kind of mission except combat. What began as an experiment now established that women could fly demanding missions, the biggest bombers and most difficult planes, wingtip to wingtip with their brothers. The final graduation. On December 20th, 1944, WASPs were disbanded to make room for male pilots who were coming home from the war.
What followed was a 30-year stretch in which America's military trained only male pilots.
American air power was winning the war. September 2nd, 1945, on a battleship in the Pacific, the Japanese signed an unconditional surrender.
We must be sure that none of these victories is wasted and thrown away in the years to come.
We are faced with a tough job, but I know that we can do it. And with all due reverence, I say, by God, we will.
WASPs returned home. In the darkest hour of our nation's history, they had responded to the call to serve. It would take 35 years for the WASPs to gain the status they so richly deserved. In 1977, Congress passed a law granting them veterans recognition. 2 years later, the Secretary of Defense declared the service of the WASP to be active military duty. Proudly, they were now veterans.
But Arlington National Cemetery, the nation's most sacred resting place, maintained that WASPs were not eligible for military funeral honors. Not an honor guard, not the playing of taps, not a gun salute, not even an American flag to honor their service to the nation.
WASP daughter Julie England challenged the military to right this inequity. The Washington Post printed an article written by Julie on behalf of her mother and the WASPs who are still alive. A thunderous outpouring of support unfolded. Men and women, military and civilians joined the cause. Grant equal honors to these World War II veterans.